Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Indies. I'm your host, Joe Compton, and we are doing this live. So bear with me. This is the first time I've ever done this thing live. So there might be a learning curve or two or something that happens, but we'll get through it. We always do. And I'm super glad to have you all with us today. We have a great show for you. We have some great discussions planned. There's some interesting things going on in the indie gaming community and also the indie self-publishing community that we're going to talk about. And we also have with us today, we have some segments that we'll be featuring. And so we have with us first Mr. JB Taylor. JB, say hello to everybody.
Hi, I'm JB Taylor. I'm a writer, and I'm also on YouTube occasionally, not often. My newest book is John Archer, a Comedy, and it's out now on Kindle Unlimited, and it's on Audible. And I NaNoWriMo successfully, and I have a collection of shorts coming out through that. So you can look forward to that. That'll be out sometime next year. Netflix pick of the week on this Shindig thing. So, yeah, should be fun.
So we're looking forward to it. Marnie, what are we going to get from you tonight?
Well, I'm Marnie Cate, an author. I like to pretend I'm an author, but right now I'm kind of pushing back on that, and my focus is going to be on Indie Insight. Indie Insight is a program that I created with the support of Joe to really highlight indie authors. And I want everyone to see like the unique side of them that I get to see. So this is going to be my 5th episode, I think, 4th or 5th. But anyway, December's coming up and I'm going to be talking about that a little bit. I have a really great show that I'll be able to spoil a little bit. So stay tuned.
And we have Christie Stratos with us, who is going to get us through those last. What are we going to do after? I mean, NaNoWriMo's over, right? What are we going to do, Christie?
There are some hours left in NaNoWriMo for those of you who are still writing. And if you're really desperate, you can just pretend you're on Pacific time. That gives you more time. So anyway, I'm Christie Stratos. I'm the author of Anatomy of a Darkened Heart and Lock and Key. Those are both in the Dark Victoriana collection. I'm also the host of The Writer's Edge. And as Joe said, I'm going to be talking about NaNoWriMo. So I'm going to talk about your word count, whether you did or didn't make it. Either way, how that's a success. And I'm also going to talk about how to publish your book pretty quickly afterwards, like what your process could be and how you kind of keep NaNoWriMoing into the future months.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to all of our segments tonight, and welcome to our show, everybody. I wanted to get started tonight talking about something that's going on in the indie gaming community, because the indie gaming community right now is in an influx. What's happening with the indie gaming community is that they are experiencing the revolution that most of us are all familiar with, being indies, either through the filmmaking community. The music industry went through an entire kaboom, big bang, if you will, and the publishing industry is still kind of feeling its way and effects through whatever tsunami that was created through that effort. And so the indie gaming community is in a flux, whereas there's so many ways to get indie games now, and the indie gaming community has really sunk into the digital marketplace. Places like Steam and other, people watch YouTube or to watch people play these games and go through them and engage in them. And these are all indies doing this kind of work. So what has happened? I have this article on Engadget that talked about the rating system in which the indie gaming community is abiding by, and it's abiding by it voluntarily. So the Entertainment Software Rating Board is the entity that was created in the 90s to kind of keep Congress away from the video game industry. Congress was kind of on this mission to kind of curtail pop culture, the violence and the sexual innuendo that was going on in our pop culture at the time, and really always is going on, but this was particularly prevalent at that time around the early 90s. And so they created this system, which was based off of the MPAA system, which is the movie rating system, that allows you to pay for a rating. They'll take your game, they'll look at it, they'll play it, and they'll give you a rating. Based on that rating, then you can market yourself as a game that has been certified by this particular rating board as mature, teen, available, and it has its merits. There's certainly something to be said for doing something like this, but it also has its deterrents, because to do this, to put this together, this article points out it costs about $3,000 to $5,000 to get a rating. So that's a lot of money for any indie, and especially for indies who are basically creating this with no money and putting their programming skills together. And so what's happening is that the big three game companies are monopolizing this system and using it to push out the indie gaming community in a certain extent, because they are not only taking their box. It used to be that their box retail stuff from like the things you buy at GameStop and Target and the game packaging and everything that you used to get. Those used to be the things that were rated, and so the indie gaming community wasn't affected by that. But now the big three have decided that because they understand that there's a revolution going on in the digital marketplace is a big marketplace. They've decided that they're going to extend their rating system through the digital marketplace as well. And that is hurting the indie gaming industry tenfold, because basically it's saying that without this rating, you're not a legitimate game. And that isn't the case, in my opinion, personal opinion. I'd like to know what everybody thinks of that idea, but that is what's going on here. And it seems like we're at an impasse in terms of will the indie gaming community just ignore this? Because again, this is not law. This is not set in stone. And can the indie gaming community survive if they do decide to fight and rebel against this? What does everybody think?
I have a question, actually. Can they still be on if they're doing that, or no? It's just, I know it's physical copies.
Yeah, so you can do it for anything. You can do it for your digital copy, your physical copy, and Steam, I believe, adheres to the rating system, but I don't think they do publish them, but I don't believe that they categorize them with the ratings in mind. So I think it doesn't affect Steam's business overall, and I think Steam would be one of those companies that would, if they championed, hey, look, indies don't have to do this, or maybe they championed where you pay a little bit up front, Steam will cover you for the rest, and then you pay Steam back as your game gets more popular and more popular. I don't know. That might be an idea. That might be one way to approach it. But I think that the gaming community needs Steam more than Steam needs the gaming community, in terms of, because they can always turn to indies and gather tons of content. If you go on Steam, there's tons of games that are not part of the big three: the EA Sports, the EA, the Nintendos, the gaming industry itself does put stuff on there, but most of the games that are most popular are the ones that have been created by indies, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. Yeah. If they're not going to have a hard time with Steam, that's helpful. But of course, having to be blocked out of anywhere just because you can't spend tons and tons of money on a rating is very, very painful when you can maybe afford all the loans and everything to bring your team together, and with all the tech that you need and all the QA, the testing and stuff. And then you fall short on that physical copy, how you need the rating, ouch, that's a big ouch. And that could definitely hurt the variety we have, maybe even.
Yeah, I think Joe's right in terms of Steam. Their thing, they do. I've only recently started it, but they seem in places to adhere to the rating, but in others, they just seem to do whatever they want. Yeah, there is an impasse because you have the big three, but then you have Steam. I totally lost my point. I have a migraine. Yeah, they just personally, I think if things get too crazy and companies, indie upstarts, start to feel the pressure, there are places to go, like Steam, because they don't fully to Android apps and iTunes apps. I think that's another explore for indie gamers, because I don't think they go by the rating system at all, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I haven't seen it on YouTube.
You know, I personally think that the big three, they're kind of feeling the heat right now. That's why they're down. I mean, otherwise, what's the point? I mean, you put out a game like Overwatch or Skyrim, and you're making, you know, a crap ton of money. So you really, for them to make that move, they have to be feeling some kind of heat, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Christie, before we got on, pointed out something, and I wonder if you would share that with everybody, because I think it's pretty relevant in terms of the idea of what we're talking about here and how much they really do care about these things, because it's if you saw this, you would think otherwise, I think.
Yeah, and I just did a quick research on this as well. So one of the things we were saying is that if you're going to force, you know, indies to have to buy this thing that could be unaffordable for them, like a rating just to be represented in physical stores, then what we were talking about is when Oblivion first came out, they actually had a mature, well, they had originally a teen rating, and then I just looked it up online, and it looks like it's ESRB. Did I get the order right? Okay, good. Yeah, it's them who decided at the last minute to change Oblivion's rating, not Bethesda. And they changed it to mature, and they had to put all these stickers on and stuff. And I had been saying that it was frustrating because you better really, really know what you're doing if you're going to force, you know, people, indie gamers, to be, you know, to be represented by buying, essentially having buy-in, right? Having a buy-in into the market there. They should, ESRB, obviously it's their rating, should be a little bit more on top of their rating system or be stricter or whatever. They should really be solid enough that you don't have a situation like having to put stickers. And this changed Oblivion's market. I mean, obviously mature is, you can't sell that to under 17, I think it is. So big ouch. And random change at the end. Ugh. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing that they would need to clean up if they want to be so picky.
And that brings up a great point, and that's something that was brought up in this article and amongst indies. Some of the chat boards I've seen talk about how this would really affect their game. I mean, because they believe that the ESRB is really in the pocket of the people who pay them. So if the people who pay them kind of push them to say, hey, this game should be labeled mature because of this or this, they're going to hurt the overall marketplace of what, you know, these games can market to, and a lot of the indie games especially have a lot of the younger community gathering around them and engaging in them. So I think that's a really big deal if, you know, adhere to these rules.
I just about the rating change affecting sales in certain demographics. I kind of have to disagree on that, because I think that for the most part, parents don't pay attention to the rating, because by the time it gets to the store, the kid has bitched and moaned and driven them so crazy, they're just like, all right, screw it, whatever, get it, I don't care. And or they're ignorant on the subject, and they just say, okay, it's a video game, you know, it's not going to be that big a deal. I know I've seen their video game collection, and they have conservative parents, and I'm just shocked by the games that they have. my nephew, he's Grand Theft Auto, and I'm like, what? You can literally power up, you know, sleeping with a hooker. So why would you have that? I did tell his mother, by the way, because that's just not right. But yeah, I just think overall it just depends on who's buying the game. But I think overall it doesn't really hurt sales too much. So that I would have to disagree on. But I think it's just more in keeping power, and it's all about money. Well, everything's about money. But yeah, I just think it comes down to that.
I totally agree with you. I guess what you're saying is completely right most of the time. If it's like a parent buying it, it doesn't really make a difference, because, you know, even younger kids that shouldn't be allowed into rated R movies definitely go because their parent is with them. But yeah, it would just be more like a 16-year-old or 15-year-old can't actually walk in and buy, you know, the game anymore. But you're entirely right. Yeah.
I just want to know what games are clean enough for people to play anymore. Because there's
That's
none of
true. I mean,
like if they're not first person shooters, they have, like you said, let's run over a hooker for extra points or sleep with her. I mean, I don't know any video games that don't have something of shock value, or I mean, I don't mean like
the safest. Yeah, the safest ones that I can think of just off the top of my head are sports games, but a lot of kids nowadays, they do online. So they go online and play a match, and they're hearing the N word and the F word and stuff like that. So, I mean, those clean games are kind of tainted to a degree, or in some cases to a great degree. But
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, the sports games, you're either blowing something up, sleeping with something, or you're scoring a touchdown. So, I mean, or you're trying to find some sort of treasure. So,
and in all cases, you might be doing all four.
Yeah.
Just by doing one thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, along the lines of the gaming industry going in flux, and this is a topic that I'm sure we can discuss in much greater and a longer period of time, we have good news coming out of the publishing industry. Presses in Britain I just had this article here from The Guardian talking about how the 60 small presses in Britain have reported 78% increase in sales over the last year in their ebook sales, which here in the United States, in Canada, and mostly abroad as well, the sales have been hurt this year. They've been down. We've seen reports in Publishers Weekly about sales being down 2%, 3% overall. And so what is the British Isles doing? What is the United Kingdom doing that is so much better? Well, they're allowing smaller presses to engage in bigger media markets and be a part of the flux and move in between. And a lot of strong writers are jumping aboard the indie press train as well, because they all feel like, you know, there's J.K. Rowling and then there's us, right? I mean, that seems to be what is going on in that community. I mean, there's obviously tons of other famous writers and writers who are just as famous as J.K. Rowling from the Kingdom as well, but it seems like there's a revolution going on, and it seems like that marketplace is starting to show a good model in creating something that could really be beneficial to us. What does everybody think?
I'm not completely up on it, but from what I've read and from what I understand, I just think it's a difference of countries. With the U.S., once they hit, I mean, you even see it in films. Once they hit a certain groove, once they get used to a certain something, they don't like to move away from it. I mean, that's why we have all these remakes and all that sort of thing. We get used to like the big names here, and we try to push what we know. European countries and Canada, they're more open to exploring other people's, stories. It doesn't just have to be the big name. There are plenty of people who can write and have great ideas. I think that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm. And the article, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that I think with the writers, I think there's a difference too, because in the States, people see an opportunity to sell, shit really, and just make a quick buck. And it's more about the art and wanting to, actually further themselves. I mean, that's just me. I could be wrong.
Also, yeah, and no, I think you're right. I think there's certainly something said for that. But in the article, it cites the literary boards coming together and putting their budget out there. They've raised almost tripled their budget for advertising through what they raised in the community and put it together and put it out there. And so they went from 100,000 pounds to 299,000 pounds of available marketplace that the Indies could grab to foster their creation. Putting something behind it and having a government that puts, or at least a group of constituents putting it out there, some people who want this to be seen, have pushed it forward a little bit too, and that probably has helped that growth as well.
Yeah, well, which is oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I was just gonna say that's a stark difference to how indie stories and ebooks are pushed here. You have Amazon as like the dominant force, and anyone who goes through them, yeah, you have a 70% royalty option, but really at the end of the day, they're getting more out of it than you are.
Well, imagine this.
So I mean that there's.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jamie.
You're all right. I was just saying that I was listening.
So imagine this, right? The KDP fund that we all get a piece of. If you're part of KDP, they read your pages and stuff like that. What if they turned around and took a quarter of that and put it into a fund where they promote your books? That's what we're talking about, right? That's the difference. Imagine that. I mean, Amazon has so much money. I mean, he doesn't need to keep all the money. If they put it in a little fund where they're supporting indie authors and just putting it there, but here's the rub, right? I think this is also the difference in mentality, is that as indie authors we say, well, why are they putting that money there, and do I really trust them to spend my money? Give it to me, right? That's what the mentality is, right? And that's the difference. We want more from Amazon, but we don't want to do more for the community, and because we make pennies on the dollar, right? So I think that's where this system has succeeded, but may fail in America just because of the fact that there are people out there that just puts, like you said, JB, shit out there to make a buck.
Yeah.
They don't care about the community. They don't care about fostering it. They don't care about moving forward. They just want to make their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a quote from the article where it says, Independent presses can also take a longer-term view of a writer's career rather than dropping them at the first sniff of failure. So that's similar, almost not investing in terms of money, but investing their time, invested like trusting you, loyalty, and that's something that a lot of traditionally published authors even complain about now, where they decide to go indie because they have one book published, and then they have to go through like the regular rerouting, you know, right from the beginning to try to get published through the same exact company, and that's very, very frustrating. And plus, you know, traditional publishers only do so much advertising and marketing depending on how you do. That's how I have understood it from traditionally published authors. And so if they're not willing to put enough into you, maybe you could have been a bestseller, but we'll never know, right? So yeah, that investment of time too is a big deal.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense. Well, and along those lines, the other article that I found this week was talking about the 6 things about self-publishing you're tempted to overlook but shouldn't. This is a really fun article. It was on the Huffington Post, and it's really generic and basic, but and some things are very obvious that they bring up, but I think it helps us remind us of who we are, right, and what we're trying to do. And I think that sometimes that gets lost in translation, or it gets lost in struggling to make this work for yourself. And a lot of what this was saying to me was, hey, look, you got to find the time to write. You got to find the time to put it out there and polish it and make it something that is worth people seeing. And so that's what I got from it. I can go over the 6 points if everybody wants me to, but it's out there on the Huffington Post. I'll post the link and everybody can take a look at it. Well, did you guys read the article? What did you think when you read it? Was it kind of just remedial kind of stuff for you guys?
For me, it was sort of what I've before, but seeing it come from a fresh voice was invigorating, and it reminded me just to slow down a little bit and just not push so hard. Just work it and just trust yourself, trust the process, and everything will come out just fine.
Yeah, I thought it was, while it was basic, it was also positive. So it was just a nice, like you were saying, is a nice reminder of a lot of really nice things about self-publishing that, like you said, get lost in the mix. And my favorite thing that it said actually was point 5, which is it's not a last resort thing anymore, which was awesome because I always, like, people will ask when I say that I'm a writer, they'll ask, like, who do you publish with? And I'll say, I never bothered with literary agents trying to find one or traditional publishing or anything. I just went straight into self-publishing because I wanted to have total control over the process, and it was a viable option. So, it's just, and I'm always sort of like afraid somebody's going to say, well, like, why? Because you really just couldn't get a literary agent or something. It's like, no, I really just wanted to self-publish. Like, honestly, that's just what I wanted. And it's nice
to
see that in print.
I was going to say, tell them to read Anatomy of a Darkened Heart and shut their damn mouths, because that book was awesome.
Thanks, Jamie. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's nice to see that in writing.
I concur. But yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to discuss about this was it was very positive. It was very pro us, and that was really cool to have somebody who's doing it and making money come to bat for this cause. And I mean, like number 4, for example, talking about there's a lot of people you've heard of that have self-published and they've made it. And, number 3, because you get more of the money and all the things that would appeal to people. So I found it very refreshing in that respect. So I enjoyed the article for that reason, and I thought it was worth talking about.
I do like how it was all nice and supportive, and then at the end it said, but you still have to put out quality stuff.
Yeah.
I like how it said, yeah, you can get there, it's growing, but guess what? You still can't put out crap. I like that.
It's like watching Bob Ross on Netflix and thinking that you can, but no, you have to put in the work to learn how, because if you try, you're just going to make complete crap. Yeah, you have to put in the effort. You have to put in the time. But that's personally why I love the indie market so much, is because I don't have to worry about a deadline. And I also have the final say in my cover, which mine aren't that good, but I at least like them, so I am fine with that. It's great being an indie.
I wouldn't say your covers are crap. I think they're all right. No worries there. Plus, if anybody actually opened it up and read some of JB's work, you'd see that there's an immense talent lurking there. He's a fantastic writer. So let's move forward. Each of our esteemed folks joining us today have something to tell you, and I'm going to give them the opportunity to do so. So, Mr. Taylor, are you ready to do Netflix pick of the week? I
am. I no longer have forgotten the name. I have it. I just have to make sure to enunciate it. I don't want anyone thinking I'm talking about something I'm not. Okay, so last time I brought a very dark comedy. I can't recall the name because my memory works like that. But it was very dark and it was very real, and so I thought, okay, I'll watch one that's maybe not so damn serious and make you want to drink. So I found one called Mind Horn. It is a quirky British comedy. I am not going to try and pronounce these names. Two of them, some of them don't even have, I don't know what the hell is going on there. Steve Coogan's in it. Yeah, so basically it centers around this washed up actor who starred in this 1980s about a detective. He was working on a case and he got shot in the eye, which of course you survive that because, you know, everyone does. And so he gets this badge, and for whatever reason they make it a bionic badge, and it can tell the truth or see if someone's lying. And it's just a cheesy, stupid comedy. Directors, they're in on the joke for the show. They're in on it. But the lead actor, played by a brilliant actor who Julian Barrett. He plays it so wonderfully. This actor in this cheesy, stupid show, he doesn't get the joke at all. He thinks he's the shit. Like, he's like the greatest actor ever. The only good character on the show got his own spinoff, and he was on for 16 seasons. But everyone else, so they just, and basically this guy believes his hype, and he's like, screw you guys, I'm going to Hollywood. And his career just stopped. And that one guy got his spinoff, 16 years, and he's literally cherry picking auditions. There's this scene in the film where he hears about this Kenneth Branagh. He needs a middle-aged Jamaican character. So he sneaks into the audition, and he's just flailing, doing a Jamaican accent. He snuck into the audition through the back, and he leaves through the front. And in the waiting area, it's just a bunch of black guys, and they look at him like, "What are you doing here?" And he's just like, "Oh shit!" And it's hilarious. Part of it, the rest of it is this woman gets killed, and the guy that he'll only talk to Mindhorn because he watched the show and he thought it was real. Nerds think Star Trek is real. And so this guy who now has no career, he sees this as an opportunity to revitalize his career. Mindhorn, he could bring back his acting career. And so he accepts the police officer's request, talk to this guy. Let's get him brought in. And he completely tries to use the situation to advance his career, and it blows up in his face. And it's freaking just wacky, and it's funny. I recommend it. If you like quirky British films, then you will love this film. It's just absolutely wonderful. Everyone doesn't take it too seriously. They don't sort of phone it in. They understand that they're not making Hamlet. They're making a silly comedy. And so they have fun with it, and you can see that they're having fun with it, and it's just a hoot. I highly recommend it. 4 out of 5 only because there's this one scene that was just so stupid. I can't give it a it's just actually rewound it and watched it again because only someone just completely baked is gonna like that specific moment. But yeah, it's a great film. I had loved it. So that's my Netflix pick of the week.
Sounds awesome. Sounds like a little dig at Monty Python a little bit. Did you get that impression?
It's a little bit. It's a little bit of Faulty Towers, a little bit of Monty Python, a little bit of Knight Rider. If you're gonna watch it though, just make sure that you understand it's but it's a great stupid. I love films like that personally.
Me too. Yeah, I think and British humor. It's tough to beat British humor. It's sophisticated, but yet it's silly and stupid at the same time.
Yeah.
Thank you, JB. That's awesome. Everybody should go and check out past episodes of This Week in Indies on our Facebook page, facebook.com/GoIndieNow, and check out some of the movies that JB has recommended in those, because there's a couple really good ones that I personally watched right after he recommended them. And the one that really I thought was probably one of the best films I've seen in a long time, definitely going to be on my top 10, The Meyerowitz Stories, which is a Noah Baumbach film. He did Greenberg. He did the one with Jeff Daniels that's escaping me. But he did one of my favorite films of 2015, which is Frances Ha. And it was a movie about family and the dynamic of family, and how crazy families who are kind of thrust together because of marriages and such deal with one another, and how they interact with one another while interacting with the person that they have in common with. Dustin Hoffman, Ben Stiller, just a phenomenal cast and a great film. JB got a little taste of why my wife doesn't go to the movies with me anymore, because while I was watching it, I texted him the entire time and drove him nuts. So I appreciate that he was there for that. That is a great film that he recommended. So he's scouring the indie circuit for you guys. So definitely go check it out. Spend some time with the indie section of Netflix, because there's a ton of movies out there. And we could do this to the end of time, and I don't think JB we'd ever get to the end of the list.
That's true. There's a long list. There's a lot of good films in there too.
One of the things that GoIndieNow has produced lately that I'm super proud of, and it's really the mindchild of one person, and it is something that somebody created very well, Miss Marnie Cate, who is joining us. We're into episode 5 of the Indie Insights with Marnie Cate. She does it all on her own. She put it together, and she gave it for me to present, and I'm so honored that we're on the platform that's presenting it. So that's coming up, and so let's hear from Marnie, and she's gonna give you a little sneak preview, a little taste of what's to come this December in about a week, right? Next Friday we'll post the show. I hope I didn't just scare the hell out of her by saying that.
No, I was being polite.
But
it actually ties into the development of this program. So
go right ahead, Marnie. The floor is yours.
Okay. Yes, Indie Insight was my mind child. And honestly, it did come from me being in a panel and me not wanting to step over people and, speak. So that kind of made me think, well, there's people that kind of sit back and we don't get to know them, but I know they're super awesome people and they're interesting. So when we first started out, I did it a little bit different. We did a group, but then we did turn it around to be a little bit more personal. Everyone on this panel has been a victim, a guest on my show. So it's been definitely fun. Some of the interviews I had one that went 2 hours, which we did have to cut down to 2 12-minute segments with Gary Starta and Robin Firestone, who were a delight to talk to. So I did learn a lot along the way here, and every day I'm learning more. So the December show is jam-packed because I had too many people that want to be a part of it. And unfortunately, if you want to be a part of it, the space is really limited. So please sign up now because I think have like 4 more spaces till March or April of next year. We're filling up even into June. So if you're interested and you're an author or an indie artist of any kind, let me know. But this month was really fun because I was able to interview a couple people. Kenna McKinnon, who is such an interesting woman, tells me a little bit about her hairdresser and how he inspired her to write her next book that's coming up. Kenna right now has one of her books on sale for 99 cents. I just wanted to give a shout out for Benjamin and Rumblechum, which is her little story about Katie and Jacob who go off on an adventure with their aunt, which I'm an aunt, so I love that. Glenn Edelstein, which I may say his name wrong, forgive me. He's actually my first non-author. He is the cover, he's a cover designer. And his segment is really interesting and gave me a lot of good tips on my own formatting and cover design. So I wanted to, I encourage everyone that is doing their own covers at least to look and listen. He has some great advice. Bree Moore of Woven is going to be there. C.L. Schneider, which everyone knows in this panel, her Nightfire series and Crown of Stone, which is pretty cool. Joe Compton, of course, I was able to he was nice enough to let me interview him. He got to see the other side of my torture. I had a really interesting conversation with Kim Interdonato, who wrote Shoes Are Like Men. And anyone that's in the dating world still and wants to kind of hear a fun, it's not man bashing at all, but kind of a fun thought on the dating world, I'd recommend coming and listening to her talk. She's very positive. And a little tidbit about her, she is a figure skater gone hockey coach. So it's kind of interesting. And then my last guest is Tony Brady of 1,000 Scars. And while it's scary as hell, his storyline, really interesting to hear a little bit about it from him. So I hope everyone will come and check it out. And then to tie all this in, it's 5 episodes. And what I wanted to do is thank everyone. So on my blog, I have a countdown to 2018. And so it just launched today. I'm starting with Karen Mossman. I'm going to have everyone on there and you can go and look at it and see what their books are. And I hope you'll support them. It'll also have a link so you can check out their interview if you want to learn a little bit more about these authors. And I think I can step down now off the soapbox.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marnie. And it was a real pleasure being interviewed to see the other side of the world. I enjoyed that part of it. I was a pain in the ass. She's very kind to not say that, but I was a huge pain in the ass because I can be, because it's what I produce. So, but she accommodated me very, very well, and I really appreciate it. Let's just put it this way: the interview you're seeing is not the first time that we tried it.
That's okay though, because my what I say to everyone is, this is your brand. This isn't my show. When I'm interviewing you, this is your brand. You have to like it. You have to be comfortable. I can't make you taller. I can't make you thinner. I can't make you have a British accent, but I can cut out you picking your nose. You know, I can cut out you sneezing, or I can cut out if you decide to tell me a story that maybe I don't think you should share. I will filter you. So, yeah.
And she does. It's well put together, and we're very proud to put it out there. Like we said, next Friday will be the debut of episode 5 for everybody. So everybody needs to go check that out. And certainly, I won't say the old cliche last, but certainly not least, I will just say that let's talk to Christie Stratos, because we all on this panel attempted NaNoWriMo. Some of us were successful. JB Taylor, congratulations for being a winner. JD Estrada, who's watching, was a winner as well. Anais Sharshenko, who was watching, was a winner. Congratulations to all of them. I hope our little group helped out in that respect. I kind of let it just be what it was going to be. I didn't interject myself too much in there. Maybe next year I'll have a little bit more structure, and we'll do some sprints and stuff next year. It just the month got away from me. It was just a bad month, and unfortunately that happens. And I don't know why NaNoWriMo was created in November. Maybe Christie knows the answer to that, but anyway, but that is the case, and people were very successful. And now, what the hell are we going to do now that we don't have NaNoWriMo? I'm especially going to miss it, because that means that I don't have anything for Christie Stratos to do on my show anymore, and so I'm not going to see her on my show anymore. So that sucks, but we're very happy to have her right here, right now. So go ahead, Christie, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Joe. Actually, Marnie has a video about why November is not a good month for NaNoWriMo. So you should check that out on our YouTube channel if you get the chance. That one really cracked me up, because it's true. November is a tough month. If you have a full-time job, it's coming to the end of the year, and there's so much to wrap up. It is a difficult month, I can tell you from experience. So anyway, it's November 30th, and some of you may still be actually running to the finish line. If you don't make it, don't be upset. It's totally okay. If you did make it, congratulations. Like, we have a whole lot of people here who did make it, and that is awesome. Like I said last year, you guys are my heroes. I don't know how you do it. The most I've ever written is 10,000 words, and I'm really happy with that. Like, that's good enough for me. So I set a pretty low word count for myself. I knew it was going to be super busy, and if this year you found that you couldn't make your word count because it was really just too hefty, you can always think about setting yourself a lower, more achievable goal, and, a hopeful goal of 50,000 words if you want. But the last thing you want to do is come out of NaNoWriMo saying, I failed and I hate myself, or I'm not a writer, I didn't finish NaNoWriMo. That's absolutely not true at all. It's a tough thing. It's a very tough thing. So anyway, if you did not make your word count and you're still looking to continue working after NaNoWriMo, like into December, and you want to finish that book, then I would suggest the best way to go about that would be to look at what your pattern was this past month and see, like, what is a reasonable word count for me per day, or is it per weekend, or is it per week, like that kind of a thing. See what was reasonable, and if you make that your goal, you're going to reach it every time, because you've already proven to yourself that you can. So that's a way to come out of this if you didn't quite make it, and know that you will still finish that book, no problem. If you did make your word count, then, and like Joe was saying, some of us might really miss NaNoWriMo. That drive and that adrenaline and excitement is awesome, and it really keeps you going, and the community is so strong. So one of the things that you can do is start setting up your schedule for publication. If you want to go self-publishing or indie, you can do that, and you can say, okay, well, December, I'm going to go into my novel and I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to spend the month editing. So that's my NaNoWriMo for, December. And then in January, I'm going to get it like professionally edited or proofread or whatever you're able to do, which I do recommend if you're able to. You need another perspective, like everyone does. Every single person does. Even professional editors need another perspective if they're writing. So that can be January. And when that person sends your edited work back, within like a couple of weeks or however long, then you can go straight into editing it. And that time also, by the way, provides you a little bit of a break in you're looking at your work, so that somebody else edits it in January, you go in to apply the edits, see what you think of them, that kind of stuff, and you're going in with a totally fresh brain. So now you can look at it and see if there's anything you want to cut, you want to add, stuff like that, which is really helpful, and you're still keeping on track. And guys, like if you can do that, guess what? You can publish in February. Isn't that exciting? So for Valentine's Day, you can make it I love myself and my novel and I'm publishing me month if you want to. And you have like the month to format and, maybe come up with some more marketing stuff, get a cover done or do it yourself. So like, February, if you're trying to do that, let's spend a month doing each thing. You could totally do that, and people have done it and have been successful. So that's a way to sort of just continue on with NaNoWriMo and that whole like exciting vibe that you get out of it. So that's my advice for going forward. And like I said, if you did not reach your word count, don't worry about it, and just now you know what is more doable and what's realistic for you, and maybe you've learned some things about your writing patterns and what's good for you for writing and what doesn't work. So to anybody out there who made it, congratulations, and to those of you who didn't, congratulations on trying. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to, I think, 5,000, and that was as close as I came. But what I want to know, especially from like JB and Christy, I know you've been successful in the 50,000 realm before. That last like 10,000, is it garbage? Were you just going and just to get to 50 and say you got to 50, or were you really concentrating on actually writing something that you're going to keep?
Personally, that last 1,000, I'm pretty sure was just complete shit. I hit a wall.
But at that point, you can't stop, right? You can't.
Something. Yeah. I want one of those coffee mugs from the shop, and I refused to buy one if I didn't get 50K. So I was like, I'm getting a mug. I'm getting a mug. I'm getting a mug. And yeah, so.
Wait, why does the story say
I'm buying a mug? Yeah.
Yeah, I always wondered that because I think as I'm a pantser, I write a ton of crap, and I just when I go I write crap, and like half of it I usually keep and half of it I throw away. So I'm wondering, with that in mind, because the goal is so is to develop the discipline that NaNoWriMo is putting forth. It's not so much about getting to the 50,000 as it is kind of establishing your routine and getting yourself used to writing every day and putting it out there or something to that effect. At least that's what I get out of it. And I think it really helped me in that respect. But I'm just curious if that's, because once you get to, if you're like 1,500 away, at that point, I am writing and period, just to get to the goddamn 50,000, right? I mean, that's it at that point. I mean, if you're that close, I mean, if you're at 25, then you're really, whatever. But what do you think, Christy?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Okay. I've actually never made the 50,000. You know why? And I wrote this in a blog post on the Writing Bell. I get so excited about everything else around NaNoWriMo that I just completely get distracted, like, by my own hand. Okay, so I'll be like, oh, I gotta make videos. Oh, I'm so excited. This is like the time when I get to like support other people and like share my writing advice and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, and I'm gonna do like Instagram posts and Instagram videos, and I'm gonna do Facebook stuff. I'm gonna do all this stuff, and then like, what do I end up writing, right? When do I have time to write? So I just get so enthusiastic about the whole thing that I actually do myself out of writing. But 1 year, I am really going to give it an honest try and just like, you know, really write and focus on writing. And then we'll really see if how fast I can write.
Well, last week or the second week of November, I blamed Disney. This week I blamed Marvel because both of them squirreled me. I want to see the first trailer that comes out of these movies, and then I will avoid every other trailer that comes out from here on out. But the Star Wars and the Marvel trailers did not disappoint, and I was, especially yesterday, I was so geeked for the Marvel trailer, and it was just an amazing trailer. Obviously, though, I should have been writing before that, but whatever. That happens, and I get distracted pretty easily. And I know there's somebody out there in the chat that is not happy to hear that because she wants another book from me. But I promise you, it's coming. I promise it's going to happen. But thank you so much for doing this for the entire month, Christie. I really appreciated it. It was fantastic advice. You did such a great job. And I think, again, everybody should go check out the other episodes that we did and the videos, because they're fantastic and they apply to any time of the year. It's not just for NaNoWriMo. Christie gives some great advice in there that's very practical and very worth it. But thank you for being a part of our show. I really appreciate it.
It was awesome. Thank you so much.
Can I request that you do an opposite of NaNoWriMo, like figure out who are actually injured by NaNoWriMo? Because I totally believe that some of us are not meant for this, and I feel like it should come with a warning that some of you will get sick, and some of you will fail, and some of you will get real down on yourselves. And I'm not putting down NaNoWriMo because people love it, but there's a group of us that I'm telling you, every year it gives me a cold that lingers. I'm just saying. I mean, I start out.
There's some truth to that, because my sleep pattern completely just went haywire. Like, I was going to at like 7 and waking up at 4, and my body's like, "What the hell are you doing? Why you up?" But I was just like, Charlie Sheen on a bender. Yeah. So yeah, there is some truth to that, and I yeah. Oh, that's the greatest thing ever. I can't top the winning. That was perfect.
Well, now that I took your nice show and made it negative, I'm sorry.
Not at all. Not at all. You're right. There is an anti-NaNoWriMo contingency out there, but I also believe that at the end of the day, we're all writers, and we're all looking for a way to be better writers. And so, you know, if NaNoWriMo is what gets you there, great. If it's not, great. Whatever it is to put out there, I think that's what you need to do. I mean, everybody has their way, and everybody has a better way, and that's what's so great about the community and who we are, because we all have certain things that we love to lean on and be part of, and it just makes a lot of sense, and it helps us in the end. And that's all that matters is, you know, what's going to help us get to the end goal, and how is it going to help us? You know, I think that for me is, in a nutshell, what NaNoWriMo wants to represent. It wants to tell, you know, it does celebrate the victories, but it also celebrates the fact that you were a part of it. And I think that's really cool. You know, even if you didn't, they should have a mug that's a smaller mug that says not quite to 50,000, but you tried it anyway. So here you go. Maybe a shot glass. Send us a shot glass, right? You know, that's probably more apropos of, you know, because you're gonna need a couple shots after you've gone through NaNoWriMo. At least JB is, because he needs to get his sleep back together, right?
Or like I'm a quitter pin. That would be cool if they sold that. I'm a third time NaNoWriMo quitter. I mean, that would be cool for my.
Or like it has NaNoWriMo on the front, and then you go to drink it, and on the bottom it says "I totally lost" or something.
Fail.
Yeah.
I hope the folks in Nano are paying attention to this, or actually, I hope they're not. But anyway, thank you everybody for doing this. I really appreciate it. We'll go through and give you guys a chance to tell everybody where to find you here in a second. But I just wanted to say one thing, and that is that this is the first time I've ever done this. So hopefully, I know it was a little rough, but hopefully you all enjoyed it and really got something out of it. I will post the links to the articles in Facebook. Part of something that YouTube told me for all of you creators out there, if you're interested in understanding, what happened to me personally in going into YouTube jail, was they mentioned that I don't know how they put it, but links that don't belong to you personally and that you post in your thing are subject to their guidelines. So if people that has like a lot of curse words or something like that, they're going to ding you, not the article. So be careful of what you post as links in your YouTube description box, is basically what they tell me. So luckily for us, we have Facebook, and Facebook doesn't care. But not that I'm posting anything that's out of the ordinary, but it does. I mean, if ever the big three video game companies ever watched my show, they would probably try to get me shut down. But whatever, that's fine. We'll take it on. I'm here to fight and fight hard, But the Indies, This Week in Indies, that was our show. I wanted to mention one thing, but before I do that, the big announcement that I have. But before I do that, I'm going to let everybody tell you where to find them, and I'll go backwards from when I went forward. So, Christie, start us off.
Okay, well, you can find me at my website, ChristieStratos.com. I am on YouTube. I have several NaNoWriMo playlists, so you can look me up on YouTube. I'm also at The Writer's Edge on YouTube, and we have a website now, which is really exciting, TheWritersEdgeShow.com. As for my own social media, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, like I said, Pinterest, and lots of places. So definitely, I do different things across all of my channels. So definitely check me out, and I will follow you back.
Awesome. And what is when is the next Writer's Edge, and what's the subject?
Thank you, Joe. The next The Writer's Edge is going to be December 14th, and the topic is going to be holiday-themed writing.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. And Christie may think that I'm stalking her or planning these things the way that I plan them, but honestly, December 15th was always the time I had in mind in terms of our next live panel, which is December 15th. And our subject is how to handle 2018 and how to plan ahead, which Christie will be a part of, actually. So we, back to back again. I think that works best for all involved anyway. So, but I did not intend for it to be like that. So, just want to put that out there.
The universe has made it happen. Meant to be.
Nice. All right, Marnie?
MarnieCate.com/2018 is what I suggest everyone goes to check out my blog posts for the next 30 days. You can find me on my website, which will get you to all the social media sites. Just also, I forgot to mention, January is going to be my international Indie Insight. So I've already done a couple interviews, and I'm already really excited. If you want to find out what these indie authors will cook for you if you go to dinner at their house, that'd be the episode to watch.
Very cool.
Throw some pizza if you come here.
the next Indie Insights will be next Friday, episode 5. So JB.
I'm JB Taylor. Amazon, just type in JB Taylor / John Archer a comedy. That's the best way to do it, because if you type in just JB Taylor, there's a carpenter and there's another one who writes lesbian erotica. So that's not me. Carpenter, and I'm not writing that stuff. So I'm also I just saw Joe crack up. YouTube, I have the occasional video. I'm actually looking to get back in that. I'm possibly with Michael J. Elliott for Doctor Who and also horror movie reviews. So look for that. And I'm always doing a Netflix pick of the week, so you can find me there too.
And you can now find Mr. Taylor on our flagship show as well. I've employed him to do the indie video game reviews for us on the list. He just did it on our previous episode, so go check that out, because the game he actually recommended is, I think, pretty child-friendly. It's we were just talking about how games are not that child-friendly anymore, but this one is kind of an homage to the games of the 80s that you remember, like Zelda and those, correct, JB?
Yeah, it's a little bit Zelda, and there is some mild language, but it's not too terrible. And the fighting in the game, it's a lot like Final Fantasy, and has a bit of Pokemon style RPG to it. So if you're a fan of that sort of thing,
you guys can check that out on our latest episode on our YouTube channel, the channel that you're watching this from right now, our flagship show, and that is posted at the top of our page there. So check that out. So, what is the big announcement? Well, I'm just going to say this: 3. 3 is our big announcement. Season 3 of Coffee Break is coming. December 31st. We will begin Sunday, December 31st, and every subsequent week after that, we will have a new episode for you. Sans 1 week where I am actually going to be in Utah, which is the other big announcement. I am part of the coverage of Slamdance. I will be covering Slamdance Film Festival during that time, but from December 31st to the last person, we're going to have 12 indie artists answering 5 questions. I should have made it 3. That would have made more sense, but I'm not clever enough. So I have 5 questions to ask, and so this season's all about 5 questions, and that's it. You're going to get 5 questions, and they're pretty interesting questions, if I do say so myself. And a certain somebody here is going to be taking that challenge on. I've already asked her to be a part of it. Miss Christie Stratos will be part of one of the episodes. So 12 indie artists. So December 31st, everybody. Sunday, December 31st, season 3 of Coffee Break In. And we'll see if I do a little extended period. Maybe after Brains to Book, I will extend it out and do an extension of season 3, maybe a summer edition. I don't know. We'll see. Or a spring edition. But that's the big announcement, and we had a great time tonight. Thank you so much for doing this, everybody. I thank you to Christie Stratos, JB Taylor, Marnie Cate. Check out JB Taylor's recommendations on Netflix Pick of the Weeks. Check out all of what Christie Stratos gave us in November with all the NaNoWriMo and writing advice that she presented, and definitely check out Indie Insights next week when Marnie Cate presents episode 5 for us. And with that, everybody, it's always time to go indie now. We'll see you again. I think we'll probably do more of these live shows. So if you want to be a part of it, just let me know. And we'll talk soon, and see you on the other side.